You don't think Michael Jackson understood what the glove meant?
They did that thing.
It's easy to go, it was them.
Know a lot about a lot if you can.
But you haven't delivered anything at all, so there's no reason for you to have any confidence.
Secure the fundamentals and you'll secure the bag. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Stay Sharp. We're having conversations and sharing stories about personal and professional development. My name is Jordan Rhea, and this is my co-host, Rashad Tyler. Feeling okay? You doing okay?
Yeah. I've been a little sneezy.
Them allergies come and go.
It's interesting. Like I haven't had this issue in a very long time, but otherwise.
But let's get on top of that.
How about you? How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm in a flow, I think. I'm, feeling strong. Had a good day.
All right.
And we out here with today's topic, how you can make yourself more valuable, how you can approach becoming more valuable. I know I've heard the phrase, know your worth a lot. And I'm like, I like that, but also know your value. They're kind of different, interchangeable. I think we're going to go with the word value for the sake of this conversation, but just knowing your value too is also really important. And how do you put a number to that? How do you put significance and an importance to that? That's what we're all trying to do, is forever increase our value to a team, to a project, to each other, to ourselves, and in the world around us. Increasing our value is something that we can do ongoing, right?
Yeah. I think, we'll leave the worth and value conversation for the comments or for, the streets or for the spades table, wherever you want to get into it at.
Spades.
Yeah. I mean, that's where a good fight going to happen at the family reunion.
Sidebar, I'm not finna be at a spades table and people are fighting. Now,
and you ain't going to be at a spades table.
Well, you've played spades with my family before. Nobody was throwing fists.
It was because I set the state, like I wasn't going to play.
He really wasn't going to play. And I think you were the fourth person in the room.
I'm going to tell this story.
You had to.
I'm going to tell this story. So I don't know where this dude is in the world, but Mike Sorry, if there's a way.
Name dropping.
Yeah, because I haven't talked to the brother since college. So if you're around or somehow this gets to me, like send me a shout. But I remember like it being a end your life level conflict over reneging.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I know a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And you probably all right with it. You're not even like, yeah, that's how it goes. Like you don't even have proper discernment about how crazy it is for a card game to come down to that, but it's all good. I'm not participating, fam. Like I got no reason to, possibly put my future on the table over
my life on the line.
Come on, son. Cards. It's not even no money on the table. Like we ain't even talking about no paper.
I'm really sorry you had that experience, and I'm even sorrier for myself that I'll never be able to really play spades with you. Like that's just not.
No, as long as we play with really, really peaceful people.
Yeah.
And that's where the competition is not.
Yeah. No. You're right. I am not. If you're smart about it, you're not playing spades with just anybody. Like for sure. Like I get that. I get that. But I'm like the people who I would play spades with. We're good. Like, it's a safe space for spades.
If they're slapping the cards on the table, like it can turn up, man. Anyways. I'm not playing any card game where I ain't playing no card game. Listen, we could, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we just need to
we could leave it. We could leave it.
Back to the value conversation.
Yes.
What do you have to do? What has to happen in order for you to become valuable, or before you become valuable? Maybe what's your thoughts on that? What's got to go down?
I guess when you first start, you actually need to have some real skills, some really sharp fundamentals in whatever space you're operating in. I think people want to get paid for things that they don't know how to do because they want some money. And it's so interesting how often people assume that there is payment for a job to do as opposed to payment for a job well done. And those are worlds apart. So in order to be valuable, you need to have reference for work that you've done at a high level so that people feel confident that you can do it, right? And then you become sought after, so on and so forth. But, and I want to be careful not to shoot at like generations that are, just coming on board as, the first years of their professional careers. But y'all got to relax, yo. Like, y'all got to relax. Y'all got to stop being over concerned with getting some money. And you should be concerning yourself with getting some reps.
Getting the fundamentals.
Getting some.
Not securing the bag, securing the fundamentals.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think that I couldn't agree more, because that's something that has made myself more valuable. That's something that's made you more valuable, is to commit to showing up, commit to the work that you actually have to put in, not the busy work, not the I'm going to check boxes so I can get a paycheck, but really deciding I'm going to maintain healthy habits. I'm going to have a growth mindset and nurture my mindset. I'm going to self-educate. All of those things are a commitment to the process, and that process through and through, showing up every day, is going to give you those fundamentals, right?
I love that you mentioned the growth mindset piece, because I think there is, as you get senior enough or experienced enough, you recognize that you have the adjacent enough skills to certain problems or to be a certain value add where nobody's maybe done a certain thing yet. And so you can get the assignment because you have a track record of figuring things out. And it's proven that you are a person who knows how to learn what's necessary to deliver a new thing. And interestingly enough, y'all are starting there. You don't have no track record and you want to deliver a thing that you've never delivered before, but you haven't delivered anything at all. So there's no reason for you to have any confidence.
Yeah. I think that applies to some of our audience. Maybe not everybody, but some. Yeah, I think, and we're all always learning new stuff as well. And when I take on a new skill, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to develop this skill. I don't know anything about this right now, but I'm also committing to the reps. I'm committing to I'm going to have to do this 100, 200, 1,000 times for however many hours, days, months, however long it's going to take me to develop this skill. And I'm committing to that, because I know that a lot of the stuff too that I create for the first time is going to be bad. Man. But I'm working through that, and I'm trying to be patient with it and know, these things don't happen overnight. I really have to develop this. But I just wanted to kind of share to the audience. I know that not everybody watching is, in that position where they're starting something or they're just a novice all the way around.
Well, I think you are a person who has really worked hard to acquire skills because you're just not a liar.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of fake it till you make it people. And I'm sorry, man, that's a 1984 concept that you're trying to apply in 2024, and it 84? Just don't have no place. People were probably still trying to fake it till they make it in 94 too. But what I'm saying is that your reputation has a way of now getting shared. And I'm not saying that you're not going to fail, because the greatest will, climb a mountain, fall to the bottom of it and climb again. Right. So we're all deserving of opportunities to prove ourselves. But if you are always a fake it till you make it person, you're never going to get a shot, because people can, back check your track record. And if you have all zeros, then the truth is the truth. At least have some wins and some losses. And then they can go well, okay, maybe there was a different thing that happened at the loss point that was different than the win moment.
Yeah.
Right. So let me give it a shot.
Yeah. And we haven't always had certain skills that we have now. You and I. So to segue into the prompt that I'm going to ask with you, want you to tell everybody about, is you have a programming background and an engineer background, and that almost mindset, that approach, right? You're more mathematical, you're more analytical, right? On that, I think you would lean kind of on that side. So share what the benefits have been to you learning the fundamentals of programming, I guess.
I think there's like a way to look at things that comes by way of programming, because it just has an architecture that forces you to examine hierarchy, right? Forces you to examine applications, containers, like where things sit and how to affect each thing based on where it sits. And I don't think that people have enough appreciation for the benefit of thinking like a programmer, even if you're not taking programming skills or programming languages that may be even antiquated. It's the thinking that is the thing that's most transferable. And people probably balk on it because they don't have like a at work application for the skill set. But I promise you, man, taking a basic programming course, Code Academy even, right? This will give you some ways to think about meeting structures, organizational hierarchy, right? Like how to assign departments, what roles are connected to the department, what things are falling off or trailing off at each layer down of the departmental container. Meaning we might assign all of the creative to our marketing advertising division. But once you get inside of the marketing advertising division, who's controlling like marketing as it relates to press? Like that's a different sliver that has a different cutover, and programming will help you see that a hell of a lot more clearly than any other like baseline fundamental exercise will.
Whew, yeah.
It sounds hella like
my experience with you programming is, I mean, it's crazy because you bake that into so much of what you do.
Yeah.
And I see that every day. And he really thinks in containers, y'all. He's really always trying to figure out the top of the totem pole, and then everything else kind of slots, in place. And that's something that is not easy to do, which is why it's even more of a worthwhile fundamental to have.
Yes.
And you just need to know a little bit about it. You don't have to become a engineer, like that doesn't need to become your career. That doesn't need to become the rest of your working life, but it's definitely helpful as you start to approach
as it becomes like even more difficult to talk about like the conflict in between the Hamas and Israel, the Israeli Hamas conflict. I'm not sure exactly how to say that, but I want to be careful with my language. But there are like systematic problems or high systemic level issues that are causing all of the lower down problems. So, just like even our struggle in the United States as African Americans, like a lot of the issues are at the high system level. And until we fix those things, you're going to continue to have all of those problems in the micro. So again, that's why I'm doing that. Because I realize like if this problem isn't solved at that level, it will always persist at the micro.
Well, you really just took it there with
with that big thing, because I just wanted to bring some emphasis to it, because I think it can be
kind of swept aside.
Yeah, like that's so hard. Like anybody trying to do all that. It's like, do you want to put yourself in a position where you're not wondering if you're going to win later? Because it's likely that you're going to get a win today or tomorrow or soon. But can you keep winning? Yeah. Right? How does an organization stay afloat for 20, 30, 40 years? It's because they got the big thing right.
Yeah, I see the things that make me valuable or more valuable than I was some years ago was when I took on the commitment to learn the Adobe software. Oof. And on the other side of it, I can't imagine, like I'm using several Adobe apps.
You're using
daily.
everything. Proficient. Let's go.
Not everything, y'all.
You full stack.
I've used probably almost every Adobe.
So what
software.
that looks like, let's do the countdown. So you got Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, Premiere,
XD, Audition.
There's one more good one.
What is it?
Malcolm got to throw in, but I what was it?
Lightroom. Oh, Lightroom.
You on Lightroom now?
I can do it. I can upload my gallery and set the presets to all the pictures.
Okay, Lightroom. Come on.
Yeah. I think there's, like Premiere Rush on the iPhone.
All right, let's not even.
It's
trash.
That's it, really. I guess.
No, it's one more good one, because we were just talking about
that
programming.
Oh, Dreamweaver.
Right? Those are the big 9 programs inside of the Adobe suite, and she knows how to use all of them. That's huge, man. I'm just like giving you like public flowers because it took me a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. And you've done it in a fraction of the time.
I've done it about 3 or 4 years. I think I first opened Photoshop in 2019, and I'm like, I'm just going to open it up and click around in it every day. I tell this story all the time. I spent 45 minutes a day. I don't know why it was 45, but on Photoshop. And I'm just like, what are all these buttons and these like, okay. And then I figured out and I didn't even know this at the time, but I'm like, oh, as a programmer, you start a new software and you're trying to figure out what the layout is. Like, how did they design this interface? So I know, okay, my toolbar is over here. My features or my effects are over on this side. Okay, across the menu bar, horizontally, whatever the technical terms is for this. But I need to understand the layout of something so I can see how whoever set it up, whoever designed it, is helping me get the most done. So Photoshop was the first thing that I started to use. And I know that it's given me more confidence. Yeah. Because when I learned how to really use Photoshop and I was learning how to make things that I could think about, but I couldn't
articulate it.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't really explain to someone else how to do it. When I started to see myself able to make things on Photoshop, I was like, oh, anything is possible. Like literally anything is possible because you're just building layers on layers. And then I started to look at stuff in the real world and like magazine covers or edits on people's photos or album art. And I'm like, yeah, like anything is really possible. Like this is Photoshop over here. This is, whatever technique over there. And it just like programming to you, designing inside of Photoshop specifically. And, the rest of the Adobe software taught me how to think in like building blocks. Like I'm just kind of layering things. I'm layering audio. I'm layering colors. I'm layering masks, right? And I just think that anybody who would commit to learning several, hopefully, of the Adobe softwares, you're going to have opportunities. You're going to have a leg up on, it's the most professional software out there. And why not? Like I'm so glad I did it. Looking back, I'm like, I should have done it sooner.
So it's so interesting to me what you said about the possibilities that you began to be able to see because you could do it, because you're in it. And whether or not you could execute it is an entirely separate thing, but you can see the possibilities much more clear. Like I was in an argument with some folks that you were part of the conversation a few weeks back, and I'm like urging them to notice that the level of the idea that they're pushing is limited to their ability to imagine it. And their ability to imagine it is stuck behind their ability to make it themselves. So everything that they're suggesting is what they could create themselves.
Yep.
And so you need people who can make things at a high level to also be at the decision-making table, if not leading what's happening, because everything is going to be made to the level of someone's individual ability to either see or execute. That's why Henry Ford is Henry Ford. That's why The Macintosh became the Macintosh because dude could hang out with the other guys and see and examine what could happen and understood the possibilities, right? Don't discount what Steve Wozniak meant to that. But moving further along that evolution, the Elon Musk and the Mark Zuckerbergs, those guys could actually do it.
Yeah.
And the doing it allowed them to have this perspective that was much bigger than people who did not have access to that thinking could accomplish.
In my research for this episode, I actually recrossed Henry Ford's story and the Detroit situation. Let me know if I'm making sense here, just to kind of clarify with everyone watching and listening and my understanding of the connection you're trying to make. But Ford had to go out. They were going down a bad path, and their company wasn't adding as much value as they needed to, right, to the industry. And he had to go out and find someone who could add value. And that looks so different than just having a skill set and being able to get something done. Like, you have to almost predict you have to be able to predict what's coming up and know that you need to know stuff that you don't know yet.
Yes.
And that's, you're always going to kind of be on that hamster wheel. And it's just funny that you said that without us knowing.
And we can come back to it. I think the lattice work conversation, I think I've mentioned Charlie Munger and the insistence that there is an intersection where your unique understandings create a potential Lollapalooza, as he would frame it. Or that's where a lot of events actually can cross. But your lattice work or your ability to cross leverage the information that you understand will create these new moments or this new and more unique intelligence than has ever existed. And that's where you get like the Henry Fords, those breakthroughs. Like, that's where you even get, regretfully saying, because of some of the other things that he's been involved in, but that's why you get a Kanye West. He understands the actual musical component. He understands the lyric component. He understands the melody component. He understands the visual component down to lighting, down to choreography. He understands so much that he's made himself a very complete artist. The same thing with Michael Jackson, right? It was all of the things that they understood uniquely, right? You don't think Michael Jackson understood what the glove meant? Like, he knew, okay, this is a way for people to identify me differently than the people I'm competing with.
Yeah. He definitely understood that. I think that.
And it's not magic. That's intellect.
We're totally striving for that. And we're wanting to pass that forward to everyone that we are able to work with, is know a lot about a lot. If you can, it takes years, right? You've heard the term, put in your 10,000 hours when you're trying to master something, but you're still putting in the work and you're committing to that. But the more fundamentals over time, you just keep put in your bag, secure the fundamentals, and you'll secure the bag. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And as you get more of those fundamentals, you get more confidence, your value increases. And I think that your feedback, right? That's your confidence, but the way everybody is playing back to you, it's just it's an overall benefit. I think it's part of the journey to grow yourself. So you're getting those rewards, time after time, for sure. I want to ask if there's any free game that you got. I mean, I know that there's some free game that you want to give, that you want to share, that helped you through some things.
Leverage just 80-20 rules, right? So we have a lot of applications for that. Like, people use 80-20 for dating and all types of things. There's some sort of law or principle where 20% of proficiency in a language will give you 80% comprehension, right? So that should give you more confidence to start. And I'm saying that all you got to do is a little bit and you'll become good enough, right? So you don't need to have a marine biology degree to understand or be able to be in a marine biology conversation. If you have 20% of the competence, you can understand 80% of the conversation. So that's kind of, you laughing at the marine biology.
What's your obsession with marine biology?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Oh my goodness. In our episode, I believe it's called Project Planning and
something like
Creative Organization.
Yeah.
He talked about marine biology, and you are very far from a marine biologist.
DMs about this, but all good.
Okay, well, you'll get more after that. Yeah, I think, were you wrapped with that idea around the free game and how to approach that? I think that you're also encouraging, the stakes aren't high. You need to know a little bit at first, but knowing a little bit
about a lot of things is actually very valuable. And that's the best way for you to be more useful. And if you can be useful, you can be used. Right. And these are all like very simple things, but that would be the game. If you want to be employable, know a little bit about a lot. Right. It's not important for anybody to be the 90th percentile player in a particular sliver, because when the business pivots and that particular skill is not as valuable as it once was, then you got no place.
Yeah. If there was a resource I could share with everybody to help through this process, like literally everybody, I'm not sure that I know someone. If you have a career, a job, a profession, a craft, like you need to read this book. It's called Linchpin by Seth Godin. And it was something maybe a few years ago now, something that gave me so much assurance that I can do this, because it's written right here. And the delivery of the book is so on the nose, like you can't help but to apply it to what you're working on, what you want to achieve, and implement it into your everyday. So the book, a couple high points, because I went back in audio books or Audible the other day just to touch on some points that I wanted to share. It's been a while since I've read it, but I've read it twice. And this is a prerequisite for everybody watching this podcast. Like Linchpin, it'll be linked. If it's the only book that I could ever recommend, this would be it for the rest of my days.
Oh, wow.
I really believe that. I think that that concept in the book, well, a few of them, was that depth of knowledge isn't enough, and you can be an expert all you want. And I want to be careful to not be contradictory in what we're sharing, but you can be an expert all you want, but that's not going to set you apart. That's not going to make you indispensable, next to someone else. And you want to still be an expert, but have that extra edge that might be knowing a little bit about a lot of things. And not just being an expert in this one area right here, because there's going to be other shortcomings. Another concept that the book had was not to wait for a leader to tell you what to do. And I just think that some of these things hit so on the nose. Me working under people, but then also being a leader, and me waiting on other people to tell me what to do, but then me figuring out, no. If I'm going to be in this room, like no one's going to have to tell me what to do. And that's one thing that is a pet peeve of mine, is when people are just sitting around do something, or like you have to start to learn how to do something so you have a place in that room, right? That's just all about securing the fundamentals. And the last thing that I'll share that the book offers is understanding the status quo better than anyone else. Right? Anyone can manage a task, but if you're able to really understand the status quo of what you're doing and then push that envelope every day, that's making you valuable. That's making you indispensable. So I can't say enough good things about the book and the content in it. It's incredible. And it really, I think, is a jolt to what am I doing every day? Who am I doing it for? And how do I do it so well that no matter where I go, who I work with, what projects I work on, people are like, yeah, like they did that thing.
Right.
Like if it could be for a short amount of time, a long amount of time, you can, as a business owner, as a team member, wherever you sit, this book has it for you, for sure.
Outstanding. And I want to be careful how I position myself here, but I want to highlight also like Malcolm Gladwell's books are super transformative.
Mm-hmm.
The popularizing of the 10,000 hour concept is a Malcolm Gladwell idea. So I just wanted to throw that in just for safety.
We'll definitely link to those books in the show notes. And I want to ask you now if there has been a moment where you wish you would have offered more value or brought more value, something that you wish you could do over, have a do-over.
Yeah. There are a lot of situations where I wish that I was a bit more understanding or a lot more patient. I think that there have been moments where I've been asked to hear people and they weren't confident that I was listening. Mm-hmm. And that will always lead to dissension. So in that way, like, I don't know, I'm saddened that either my ego or my insistence on my way may have blocked the prospect for there to be dialogue and a dance could have ensued that I wasn't available for, or the person on the other side didn't feel like I was on the table for, or was on the table. So personally, I believe, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it again here, I don't think there's ever a reason to be a jerk for no reason. So that's the reason I want to minimize my regret that is of this type, because life is short, and anybody who I'm in business with or am around, when I'm making the decision to be in business with you, the first filter is, can I be around this person for 10 years? And that's the first part of the examination. So I want to do some courtship on the front side. And if it's yes, I want to make sure that I behave in a way that will allow 10 years to be fruitful for us if we make it that far.
Yeah. This was a difficult prompt to answer, I think, for both of us, because we pride ourselves and we begin everything by figuring out how we can add value to it. And that's a part of our culture, is a part of our daily conversation, and it's ingrained in the approaches that we have. The thing that, I wish that I could have done over a recent situation, a client broke up with us. And when I say recent, I'm talking, a few weeks ago. It was a project that we've worked on for a long time. And in my mind, I'm thinking that we're over delivering. I'm thinking, because that's just what we do. And I think we did. We absolutely over delivered, and things just ended up not working out. And sometimes they don't. And I'm actually not right now, and maybe ever, going to get into the details of the breakup, but it was peaceful. It was understood. I think both parties were just, hey, like, this is just where we're at right now. But it really, in that moment, I was like, how could I have added more value? How could I have stepped up in a certain way and got the result for them that they wanted? And it was just difficult. It was a really difficult conversation. I remember after the conversation just feeling like, wow, how did we mess that up? Even though we were adding value and we were coming at that with everything that we had. We put our hearts into everything. We don't just mail everything in. We don't mail anything in. And I would definitely want to do that over. I think, I don't even know what I would have done differently. And that's I guess why,
right?
Yeah, that's what was so hard about, geez, like, we put everything into this and we still got broke up with. And I say breakup because it wasn't even everything that would, like, we did everything.
Yeah. I want to give you some feedback around that, because I think that it's first, like, great that you lead with your heart on your sleeve and really want the projects to be successful, whatever we're working on. And so you don't want to leave clients without
Yeah.
having the thing that they came to get, right?
Yeah.
So we don't mail it in ever. On the other side of that, when a client is insufficient, it's easy to go, it was them. When they are articulate and they're also pushing and it still doesn't happen, it becomes way more difficult to resolve what happened. And sometimes it just ain't no magic. And I think we watch other scenarios play out like that, where you get two good people together who give it everything they got, and it just don't end up, producing fireworks. And I think that was the case here. Everybody tried, right? And for whatever reason, we didn't get what we needed to get or we wanted to get. And I think at the end of the day, the entrepreneur was smart enough to say, hey, this is where we are and thank you. But, I'm going to go another way about it. And we don't have a blame story on either side, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. We've never been in that situation before. I think that was my first time in that particular situation where everything had been done and, we got let go. And it's like, oh, bummer.
Ego shot.
Yeah. I mean, there's been other things that have happened with, client projects and works and things. And, we have great stories and we have some crazy stories, but that was a very unique one. And walking away from that, just knowing, back to the fundamentals, back to learning more about the things that went wrong there. And if I had a chance to do it over and that type of situation presents itself again, being able to fill the gap there and to not, just to show up next time with the same intensity that we did, and hopefully it'll work out. So and
just to add one final note to that, because I like how we're resolving this, but it's much harder to extract the lesson when there is no obvious failure, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to actually get a lesson out of a win when the option is also just, right? Fade out.
I like that.
Because fade out, you're like, damn, I didn't learn anything from this. I don't know why it failed. I don't know. And I think maybe that's what stings the most. We don't know how to improve from it.
Yeah. Well,
I know a little bit, but that's for you and I to discuss.
We will. And to button this up, good conversation. I just want to remind all of us included, to secure the fundamentals and then secure the bag. Check out our show notes and hit us up if you have any questions. Leave a comment. We'll see you next time. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Stay Sharp. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and we will see you soon.